Oh, great. Okay, so this is second try today. I decided to do this breaking news broadcast out of Italy because it's a subject that I've discussed with my friends here in Italy. I've been concerned about it, and we've touched on it on the podcast, talking about Italy and its situation with the migrants. So generally, I don't publish this kind of stuff on my channel because the videos that I'm going to show you that have been published online by the public have swearing in them and words that'll get me taken down on Facebook, on YouTube, and even Instagram. So I'm going to show you the videos of what happened on New Year's Eve in Italy, but just let me give you some background because if you watch this back later, which you probably will, because I didn't announce very much that I was going to be on this early. Usually I broadcast in the evening. So on New Year's Eve in Italy, this New Year's Eve that's just gone by, 2024, in Milan, in Piazza Duomo, there was a gathering, which there always is for New Year's Eve, and it got out of hand. And how did it get out of hand? Let me just tell you the story, then I'll let you watch a clip of what happened, and then the action that Meloni took after this event. So usually there's some kind of gathering in Piazza Duomo for New Year's Eve, and this year was particularly bad. I must say I'm a little surprised because having walked through Piazza Duomo for all the years I worked in Milan, I know Milan like the back of my hand. I have many friends in Milan. I don't live in Milan anymore, but I know it very well. And as I say, walk across this piazza and have enjoyed aperitivos in the evening in the piazza was always peaceful. There was always military presence. There was always police presence, not only on New Year's Eve, but just generally, because it's a very important public place that tourists go to see the beautiful Duomo, and it's the heart of Milan's tourist area. And so it's generally well guarded, well policed, and things just don't get out of hand. So anyway, just that's the background. And I have celebrated since 2002 in that square on various occasions, watched concerts there, been to various events there, and never had an issue. Needless to say, New Year's Eve came around this year and it got more and more out of hand. First, initially, they were setting off fireworks illegally. It wasn't a planned fireworks display, which some town squares ask for permission for and can do. This was just random people setting off fireworks, which was quite dangerous because there was a mass of people, as you can imagine, all squashed up against each other. And these fireworks, big rocket fireworks, not little, crackers, were being set off across the square. So that was the first thing. But I guess, in on New Year's Eve, the police sort of have to have a more tolerant attitude to these things being set off. They can't react to every firework that's set off because they wouldn't be able to get around to all of them. But anyway, what happened subsequently, and I'm going to show you the video. I cannot show you the sound because it'll get me taken down off YouTube. But what happened subsequently was that there was this situation where there's a big statue in front of the Duomo, the Garibaldi statue, and it's emblematic of Milan. Sorry, I've got to take the volume off this. So I'm going to show you this video. I hope you can see it. Sorry, I hate this camera. So this is Milano. So this account, if you want to go and watch it later with sound, is called Welcome to Milano on Instagram. This is the beginning of the video where they're just setting off fireworks. I can't put the sound on, as I say, because quite soon things will be said that will get me taken down. But yeah, so this is happening. They're just setting off these fireworks and all of that's happening. And then it suddenly cuts to, remember, these videos are taken by the public. It suddenly cuts to a mass of Islamic men climbed up on the statue. You'll just see it through here. Climbed up on the statue with all the flags of the countries, all Islamic countries, 3 or 4, that apparently treated them so badly and abandoned them, so they had to migrate to Italy, who gave them refuge. And they started to insult Italy and say things like, not just general, whatever that could be said when people are drunk and stupid, but they started to say things like, F Milan, F the police, F Italy, most importantly. So I'm going to cut to that part for you, but obviously not play you the sound because it'll get me taken down. Just see if I can find the exact moment that I need. Yeah. Okay, let me just find it. Sorry. There's a couple of the videos. Oh, this is the one. Okay, I'm going to show you. Can you see all these men? Sorry. Can you see all these men? Do you see what they're saying? Okay, they've got all their flags up. They've desecrated the Italian flag. They're wearing face masks, so not so easy to see them. But that is the video that you can find on Welcome to Milan. There are various fights breaking out. People are being kicked and attacked. If I can tell you some of the background story, there were some tourists from Belgium. A lady came from Belgium, and her 5 friends were in the piazza. They got sexually assaulted and touched by these Muslim men who are all gathered up on the Garibaldi statue there, and who are desecrating Italy, the flag, and saying, terrible things, as you can see, all with face marks. But let me give you some background here. So this night that was happening in Milan, there were 500 sexual assaults, sexual touchings and different stuff. I don't want to say too much on YouTube because, that could also get me taken down. But needless to say, the police had a lot of criminal complaints that evening. And there were 1,000 complaints in general from different quarters who complained about what happened in this evening in Milan, where these Belgian young people, like many young people in Europe, were just out to have a good time that evening and celebrate in Milan in front of the beautiful Duomo. Well, it turned into a nightmare because when crowds all get together, it's difficult to see who's near you. And these Muslim men, Islamic men, sexually assaulted the woman. And when the men tried to defend them, they actually were overpowered by about 40 Islamic men who came and rushed them. There were only 4 of the men from Belgium who could defend their woman they were with. And as you probably know, if you've been watching any of the news in the last few years, this has happened in Germany and various other countries that allowed Islamic migrants to take up residence and gave them asylum. And there was a great outpouring of, let's say, disagreement and disapproval across Germany, and it resulted in Germany changing their policy. It's happened in Sweden, it's happened in many Northern European countries. So Europe knows about these events that could possibly take place. I must say I'm a little bit surprised the military weren't there that evening, and perhaps they were and they just were across the piazza, but I think not, because it must have taken a while for all these men to gather up on the big statue of the horse there. That's in front of the Duomo, for those of you who have ever been to Milan. And so, yeah, and they're chanting F Italy, yeah, can you see that? There, making rude signs. If you want to go watch this on Welcome to Milan on Instagram, you'll actually see what they say. And remember, this is just one little clip that was taken by a member of the public, because Welcome to Milan tries to post all the criminal activity that's happening in Milan in particular to assist the police to do their job. So the one thing about social media that is positive is, yes, you have these idiots who, start shouting and screaming with their flags, knowing it'll go out on social media. But the other positive thing is that the public are policing what's going on. And so they send their videos into platforms like Welcome to Milan, and they post what's happening. And of course, the police can follow up. So due to these recordings of these men saying F Italy and desecrating the Italian flag, which, by the way, is a criminal act. There's a law that exists against this. Meloni was able to act, and instead of going through the whole judicial system of trying to haul each one of these men in and try and investigate who did the sexual assaults and who did the attacks on the men who tried to defend these women who were attacked, she was able to do something that I think Italians have been very encouraged about. She went straight into the law, and the law says you cannot desecrate the Italian flag, you cannot insult Italy. This is against the law. And these men were doing it in public, and they were filmed doing it in public. I mean, some of them had masks on, so I don't know how they tracked them down. But what has happened subsequently, and you can go and look at some of the news sites if you can find it on there, is that she immediately moved to deport these men, to immediately fast track this situation where she didn't have to wait for legal process to take place, because they have already contravened a law, and that law states that you cannot desecrate the Italian flag, and you most certainly cannot insult Italy, the country that actually gave you refuge, and stick up your flag and climb up on the statue, which again is against the law. They were climbing up the lampposts and whatever. There are lots of different videos. I've just shown you one video, which is the actual moment that was punishable by law, because she was able to say, this is a criminal act. You cannot insult Italy. You cannot say F Italy. You cannot desecrate the Italian flag. They were also saying F the police. So there we are. So that all these are criminal acts. So she acted, and I must say the most encouraging thing for me as an Italian resident, and we all have our good and bad moments in the country we adopted, I have always known that this is a situation that was getting rapidly out of hand. But what I want to do is read you some of the comments. I mean, so I heard from my Italian friends that very day in Milan, and they were all dismayed that this was happening, that the New Year's Eve celebrations in Milan had got to this point. But I'm going to read you some of the comments here so that you can actually just understand how Italians felt about this. And, even the most liberal of Italians always said they should be given a chance, blah, blah, blah. Even they needed to see, and perhaps this was a wake-up call, that Italians needed to see what was actually being done to their country, if they didn't know already. Many of them obviously already knew. So I'm going to have to translate these because they're written in Italian. It says, let's clean up Milan and let these people go back to where they came from if they're not happy. Okay. Yeah. So it says, the judges have written into law some years ago that you cannot desecrate Italy, and you cannot insult the Italian police and the Italian flag in public. So send them out of the country. Okay. So people have written some things I can't read here. It says Italy has become absolutely terrible. Somebody has written here, Tripoli North. These are all Italians, by the way. So the one thing I want to say is, remember, there were also other criminal acts in that these women were assaulted, sexually touched, and whatever. And somebody's written here, put your phones down. Well, I have to say, if it wasn't for the public, this is the one case I will say, and there are others, if it wasn't for the fact that the police and the Italian government could actually get this footage that the public had filmed and put up there just randomly, and some of them are probably Islamic people who put this up, thinking it was really funny that these guys were saying, if the police, if Italy. If it wasn't for that footage, then perhaps she would not have been able to see this and act so swiftly. So in this case, I would say, thank goodness that somebody actually wrote this. Okay. And, there's lots of really thoughtful, there's obviously some terrible comments here. They speak about, that it's become like Tripoli in North Africa. They don't understand how these people who have been given succor in their country have been given refuge in their country. Here is some footage of the scuffles that are taking place down there. Can you see? People are being kicked and dragged. And I mean, there's violent assaults happening all over this piazza, in between the tourists who come to Milan to enjoy the beauty and the fun of Milan. And people are being sexually assaulted in this whole squash of people, while these Islamic men have jumped on the statue and are saying F Italy and F the police, and showing the flags of the countries in which they abandoned because these countries were so terrible to them. And now they are desecrating the Italian flag in a public square in Milan on New Year's Eve amongst all the tourists who tried to have fun, who then had to run away. And I'll show you another video of most of the normal people running away. And these open battles are being fought in a main square in Italy. So this is what happened that evening. I'll try and get to another one. But as I say, I can't show you the sound on this video, which is terrible, what they actually said, because I'll be taken down on YouTube. But you can go and check on Instagram afterwards. It's called Welcome to Milano. Okay, I'm going to show you another one. This is from up high. Someone's climbed up right opposite the Duomo. So you can see that there's illegal fireworks being set off, which is quite normal. Sometimes, the police can't be everywhere, obviously. But it wasn't the fireworks that caused the biggest ruckus this night. It was the squash of people. You can see the numbers of people that were squashed into that square, that were being, the women were being inappropriately touched and pushed and assaulted among. And when the men tried to protect them, they were attacked. These tourists. There were many 500 different complaints that came in about this evening of New Year's Eve. I'm just trying to find the other New Year's Eve video, but you can go and have a look on Welcome to Milan. I can't post all of it because, as I say, it's terrible. But those are some of them, and the stuff going on. And do remember that faces have to be removed when the public posts stuff, because if they don't, these are some of the attacks taking place, and they've blurred it because obviously the faces, you can't post somebody's face, you can't post somebody's number plate on a car. But anyway, this Welcome to Milan platform has been very helpful to the police, I should imagine, and now the government, because sometimes it's also just stupid criminals racing their motorbikes, on one back wheel. And while the fireworks were going on, the different stuff that some of these North Africans were doing. So yeah, and if it wasn't for, and some of the stories are positive, by the way. Here's another one of, some criminals. I don't want to show her face because I don't want to be, taken down for that. But you can see the open fights and the stuff going on in the background, just in a main square, in between the tourists and the babies being pushed in pushchairs. This is another one on that evening. Let me just see I don't know if you can see much of it. This was the original one. Can you see the tourists just running out of the square because they don't know what to do? They're trying to get on that bus to get out of the square while these guys are attacking them and ranting and raving about, Italy and how terrible Italy is. So anyway, I'm sorry the video quality isn't optimum, but I don't really want to show any faces anyway. But you can go and watch on Welcome to Milan, and there were literally firebombs being thrown and all in front of the Duomo. You can see people climbing up on the lights and waving their flags of Pakistan and Morocco and various other countries. So yeah, that will be what gets remembered, and perhaps I will screenshot some of these. And yeah, it's very and there were two elderly women who tried to run and get on this bus to get away from them, and these Islamic people were laughing at them, laughing at their fear, because they had to leave the Milano Square and get on the bus. Okay, so enough of that footage. Let's talk about this. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, and if you didn't watch the beginning, you can go back and watch. And if you're watching this later, that's okay. I've chatted about this among my friends for the last 15 years, and Italians have become increasingly more and more concerned about the invasion. Geographically, Italy has an unfortunate position because it is the first port of call for the boats, most of them illegal, who come into Italy carrying migrants. They are people traffickers who profit, huge gangs, and in the north of Africa, Egypt, that set out from the top part of Africa with these migrants, charging them all thousands, making thousands and thousands and thousands of millions of euros every year. And each successive Italian government has tried to stop this. Europe hasn't helped always, because they kind of left Italy to deal with this and said, well, it's up to you whether you want to receive these boats, welcome these boats. And in the beginning, Italy, and even now, took, and they always men. Initially, they were women and children, but that gave up some time ago. Now it's only men coming, young military-aged men. And so they would feed them. They would arrive sick with disease and whatever. They would feed them, save their lives. The Red Cross give them the top medical care available, meet the boat, and then receive them into centers. They always throw away their documents at sea because they don't want to arrive here and then have to explain where they came from and explain whether the country they came from is actually a place that you could go into asylum from. They throw away their documents. So they receive, let's say on each boat, I don't know, 200 young men who, have come. They don't know their criminal background. They don't know their medical background, but they're in Europe. They are now in Europe. And as you know, the European Union should have been borderless. It was designed to be borderless. So once you're in Europe, you're in Europe. And most of them, not all of them, some of them genuinely came, a very small percentage, tried to find some kind of job picking tomatoes, unskilled jobs, I don't know, and started a new life. And some of those actually did. But the majority, I don't know the percentage, so I don't want to say the percentage, but well over 90% actually just came because they wanted a route through to get to UK so that they could live on the benefit system. That is their dream. And so they try and get a train through Italy, going through the south of France, up through France, and then their goal is to go across the Channel to get to England, so that in England they will be received as migrants. And this has been happening. We know what's been happening in UK. I don't need to tell you. You can go and watch the news every day for that. But let's go back to Italy. So that's what's been happening. And at various times, Italy has asked Europe for help. Italy has said, please help us. Help us fight this battle. Send boats, send money, send whatever. We're here on our own trying to hold this border, which is a large sea border. They're coming by boats. And somehow, Europe always sat on their hands and said, whatever. And then if you remember, 2011, between 2011 and 2016, there was this influx of millions of undocumented migrants that flooded into Europe, into Germany, into Sweden, into Norway, into countries that never ever had any different culture in them and were homogenous and, had no idea what they were importing. Anyway, needless to say, the years have gone by. There have been various attacks like this in Germany. They've all been tabled on the news if you want to watch. There was this huge case in Germany where millions of, I think 1 million were taken into Germany during Merkel's time. And in this square, again, on New Year's Eve, where everyone was crammed into a square just celebrating happily, literally thousands of women were attacked on that evening, raped, attacked. It was really bad. So that resulted in the German people being very upset. It has happened in various squares across Europe. France has had their problems with non-integration, rioting, because they don't want to stay in France. They want to basically go to England or Ireland, because Ireland is a EU country. But it's also a social care country where they can be given a phone, be given a new life, and probably be put up in a hotel. Italy doesn't have the funds to do that, even for their own people, least of all but they have housed many migrants, and these people are living in Italy. They have been received, and they may have been already living here or waiting for the asylum process to go on, or just taking advantage, basically. And so Meloni has been criticized from the very beginning, before she even came in to be prime minister, when, the elections were being held, because everybody on the far left was saying she's far right, she's like Mussolini, etc., etc. Anyway, she came into power, and so far she hasn't let the Italian people down. And I, for one, and I know many Italians that I talk to regularly, maybe some people wouldn't put this on their channel. I thought about it very carefully, but I thought, somebody needs to stick up for Italy. Somebody needs to stick up for the fact that Meloni has used the law which existed, without waiting for each one of these cases to go through the legal system and all the rights that these criminals have. There is this law that you cannot desecrate, and I think most countries have it. It's treason. You cannot desecrate the Italian flag. You most certainly cannot, use insults against the Italian state and insults against the Italian police. It is against the law. And so she was able to act very incisively and very quickly. And here's one of some of the comments that I wanted to read you was people who said, Italians who said, I've always voted left, and for the first time I voted right, and I'm very happy that I did, because I'm very proud of Meloni for sticking up for her people finally. I'm going to go to some of these comments, okay? So these are comments. Accept them as you will, okay? The problem is not integration, because the Chinese community have integrated very well in Italy. They're all over Italy, the Chinese, and they run businesses, they run shops. The problem is the North African Muslims. So there it is, okay? Agree or don't agree? I'm just telling you what the Italian people are saying. We can't all live together. It's not possible. We don't have harmony and calm, and these people must be sent out of the country. If they're not happy, let them go. Another one says, integration doesn't exist here. Get out of Italy immediately. And that's exactly what some of them have done by their actions. They were sent out by Meloni. Another Italian here commenting, I have always thought on the left. I've always voted on the left, but I have repented. I actually now will vote for Meloni to stay in power. Okay, so I'm happy that some of the people, at least most of the people, were very relieved by her actions. And people saying, in 2007, 2008, this is a tourist, when I visited Milan, it wasn't like this at all. What a pity. Please be aware that this Duomo is, 700 years old. You have to queue to get into it. There's security to get into it. And these people are letting off fireworks in the square. They're climbing over stuff. They're jumping on, committing acts of public disorder. Okay, you could say it's New Year's Eve, but this sacred building in the square, the main square of Milan, the business capital of Italy, cannot be desecrated in this way. It's monuments, it's statues. There are thousands of people who would dream to come on a pilgrimage to Italy to see this beautiful Duomo that took 700 years to build, and its beautiful golden Madonnina. Then there's the Palazzo Reale, all the museum on the side of it. Those buildings were being, stuff thrown at them, and yeah. So I'm afraid, people climbing up on the beautiful lamp posts that were designed for that cathedral to illustrate the Duomo. It's not on. It's really not on. And apart from the 500 acts of criminal molestation and other things that happened in the square to the tourist women who were literally running to the only bus that was leaving the square, they all ran to that bus for safety because the bus driver told them get on the bus. These Islamic people were laughing at them. Some of them were not so young, and they just stayed at the bus because they didn't want the bus to leave without them. Maybe the last bus that they could get on to get out of the square. And when you're a tourist in a new place, you don't know where to go. You don't know where it's leaving. So anyway, I will not forget this. This woman who's just begging the bus driver to please let her on the bus while she's being chased by people, and then these extremists shouting and screaming and raising their flags, the flags that never looked after them apparently, and then these people climbing on the not good. Anyway, so I wanted to just share with you that I personally am relieved that Meloni so far has not let down her people. She has 100% honored what she promised to do, which is to make Italy proud, to make Italy strong, and to restore many of the things that people expect when they visit Italy. Please bear in mind there are people dying to get into this country. There are Americans as we speak. There are Australians. There are people from all over the world who are desperate to come and live in Italy, who have applications in for residence visas. They really want to come here, and they can contribute something to the country. Peace, quiet, tax. They can pay tax. They can pay for the hospitals to be up and running. So why should the Italian government tolerate this desecration of its public spaces and the desecration of the Italian state and the Italian police, who do a hard enough job? It's hard enough already to police these kind of situations on New Year's Eve. So this New Year's Eve did not go unnoticed. We're not even in the, well, we're sort of in the middle of January, and Meloni acted very swiftly, using the laws that existed, because perhaps in the past the government were focused on other things. And she said, no. We have the proof. Here it is. We don't have to wait for legal process, to wait for every one of these aggressions to be investigated. They have broken the law by desecrating Italy and the flag and the state, and by raising their flags in the place, in a public space, climbing up on all the monuments and the statues, and that's the end. So I'd love to know what you think. It's a very different subject for me today, but I just felt that those of you who are tourists and love to visit Italy need to know that this is a positive step to restore faith in Italy and its legal systems. And also for those of you thinking of coming to live here, I hope you'll be encouraged when the extreme left in America are often saying that Meloni is far right, that she's like Mussolini, whatever. Well, I hope you will realize that Italy has to be protected, and she is the one to do it as our prime minister. So I hope this has been an encouraging post. I felt like I had to stick up for Italy. And I felt like I had to maybe give you some of the voices of what Italians think. And they are dismayed. They're dismayed that they can't go to their own beautiful square in Milan. Please bear in mind, Milan has about 2.5 million inhabitants. And then all around the perimeter, around 1 hour from Milan, there are a lot more. But as I say, lots of people want to visit Milan and see its beautiful, beautiful history, its beautiful churches, the beautiful Duomo, and the wonderful square that I'm sure many of you have visited. You've visited Vittorio Emanuele, and you visited all these beautiful things. And the fact that these people actually were desecrating the square and, saying F the police and F Italy, it makes me very sad. So I guess they can go back to where they came from and then see how their own countries treat them when they are repatriated to wherever they came from. And let's hope for more of the same. Okay, so I'm going to say goodbye. And as I mentioned, I'm going to be chatting this weekend. I'll do another live this weekend. But this was an extraordinary one because I just wanted to get this news out to you. I know a lot of you watch trying to make decisions about where you should live in Italy. So I just sometimes Milan gets a bad rap, but it is a city that has many beautiful parts of it. It's got lovely things, as you saw today. But unfortunately, because it's a major city, there are these elements. So go and check out. I have no affiliation with Welcome to Milan or on Instagram, but you can just go and see, the videos. I couldn't show you the sound on them. So perhaps you don't want to. I can understand if you don't. But anyway, I'm happy that for once social media was used to enforce the law. So great. Please leave me a comment if you watch, and if you're watching me for the first time, please leave me a comment letting me know if you're watching me for the first time. So here we are. I hope this was interesting for you. Let me know your comments. I look forward to hearing them. Bye for now. See you on the next one from Italy. Amanda, bye. Take care.